Russia, there are large areas, fields. This is a completely different war than in all other directions. In Kursk region, there are fierce battles, artillery, drones. This is a slap to Putin personally. Take him. We approached very carefully and surrounded him. They are physically hardy and move very competently in twos, which is specific to special forces. They try to show as much as they can that they are Koreans, that they are strong, powerful, much better than other fighters. Good job. From 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., they lost a company of about 146 men. In this episode, we will visit the Kursk region at the positions of Ukrainian soldiers. They will show and tell us why Russian troops are advancing there and what casualties, about their tactics, fierce battles with them and with North Korean soldiers, and much more. It will be interesting. These old Swedish armored personnel carriers are kind of a taxi for infantrymen in the Kursk region. A fresh hole in the vehicle's protective screen shows how dangerous these raids are, primarily because of Russian FPV drones. Sometimes it is more dangerous to drive in and out than to be in a combat position. At the position, you know where you can hide from enemy drones, from artillery. And when you are on the move, it is dangerous. Vehicle is tested, ready for battle. During the Kursk offensive, according to official figures from the Ukrainian General Staff, Russia lost 38,000 troops in this area, including 15,000 become the 200th. According to the participants of this breakthrough, the AFU offensive in August last year came as a complete surprise to the Russian forces. An important role was played by the use of Western vehicles on Russian territory, which had long been banned. In particular, the infantrymen were covered by British Challenger 2 tanks. When we were coming in and crossing the border, their helicopters had already seen us. We're flying. And we're shooting at the forest plantations. So they launched us to the distance they needed. We took up our positions, worked at the enemy, and then they disappeared for a while. And later, 2 helicopters just flew off together and opened fire on us. They hit the tower with direct hit, but it did not penetrate. The shell somehow ricocheted, and everything was fine. We were lucky. Since then, Stanislav says he has no doubts about the strength of the Challenger's armor. Another important factor is the accuracy of the cannon and the ability to work with direct fire over long distances. Armored vehicles help a lot. These vehicles are more maneuverable, faster. The enemies were frankly afraid of them. They saw vehicles that were not like theirs, and they were simply panicking. These vehicles proved to be very effective. They were direct hits to the vehicles. But they got out of difficult situations well. All the vehicles left the battlefield on their own. For example, at a distance of 5 kilometers, it is impossible to miss with it, no matter what the gunner is. Due to the fact that it has a rifled cannon, it twists the projectile and it flies out straight. The speed is 1 kilometer per second, so it reaches the target in 5 seconds. The enemy does not understand where the fire is coming from, and this is an advantage. Plus, the laser is long range. The computer quickly reads information about the distance, so you can get accurate hits. Since August, Ukraine has lost about half of the territory taken in the Kursk region. Russia has increased the number of troops in this area to 60,000. The media have repeatedly reported that Putin has allegedly set a task to drive the Ukrainian armed forces out of Russia, first by October, and then by Trump's inauguration. Everything is changing, so the enemy also realized their mistake and began to pull up their forces. But one of our goals was exactly that, to pull them back here, to pull them back to the area where we wanted them. Not where they were playing their game, but where we needed them to be. We identified the areas that were favorable for us to hold, which the enemy could not take back quickly in the first days. Of course, this is a slap to the face of Putin personally. It is clear that no one wants to be slapped. Of course, he wants to show that his army is the second in the world, but probably from the end. And of course, he is throwing all his forces and reserves here. This is a nuclear state that attacked a neighboring country, fought in Aleppo and everywhere else, and it was unable to defend even a piece of its border, a small piece. We did not go here with a large front. Our guys, who were the first to enter the Kursk region, went with a very small forces. They were such sudden raids that the enemy could not cope with. In fact, he is still not able to cope with it, and our forces are not equal. They have 20 million of the country's mobilization reserve, and they cannot take such a piece of its territory. According to Ukrainian intelligence, more than 12,000 North Korean troops were sent to the Kursk region. They began to be sent into battle en masse in mid-December. The first prisoners were captured only a month later. A very important factor was that we were wearing very good camouflage cloaks. That is, when we entered the forest, we merged with the terrain. We had fire contact. While the enemy was disoriented, we repelled them, and they began to retreat. They left one of them behind. He was not badly wounded. He was in a normal condition. According to the military, the Koreans apparently have orders not to surrender. As soon as they see a threat, they blow themselves up with grenades. This time, the enemy was quickly disarmed and contact was established. Take him. They use the most common phrases. For example, surrender, sondorero, or ga, come to us, crawl. There was nothing else that was really special. So we tried to communicate with him using phrases that we memorized very quickly and easily. And we also knew some kind of answer, yes or no in Korean, and that was it. We approached him very carefully and quickly and surrounded him. At first, he could not even realize what was happening. They must have realized that we wanted to take their soldier prisoner, and a massive shelling started. They were shooting very close and very accurately. They did not want us to take him away until the last moment. And this is the first combat class with DPRK soldiers. The fighters say they should not be underestimated. They are physically hardy and move very competently in twos, which is specific to special forces. They do not have such chaotic movements, etc. I would say that the soldiers are trained. We have been watching Russian soldiers for a long time. And I would say that the level of training in the North Koreans is a little higher. They are ideological, and they're ready to fight. They have extensive training. They try to show us as much as they can that they are Koreans, that they are strong, much better than other fighters. And indeed, it is not easy to fight them on the battlefield. In addition, the military says North Korean soldiers are adapting. If during the first assaults, they often did not know how to respond to Ukrainian drones, now they understand when danger is approaching. They are really coming in large numbers. in large groups trying to storm. They fail. Between 80 and 90% of their personnel usually fall in the first minutes of their assault. And then, with these small groups, they try to capture this or that territory where they are. Ukrainian officials estimate that North Korean losses in the Kursk region amount to about 4,000 soldiers. South Korean intelligence reports more than 300 KIA and 2,700 wounded. The attacks are going on every single day, every hour. All these attacks come from different directions, just like that, from there, from here. They're trying to study on this. Despite the tactics of infantry assaults, including those involving DPRK soldiers, Russia also uses armor in the Kursk region. This is a cemetery of vehicles near the village of Zelenya Sakh, the result of the work of the 36th Marine Brigade. The last time our battalion took 9 prisoners, I talked with them. I asked them what it was for, how many troops and equipment they had left. And just imagine, from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., they lost a company of about 146 men. Also, all the vehicles that went out did not return. Maybe one damaged unit came back, but it was no longer combat ready. It would do nothing for us. Here is a completely different war than in all other directions. Our brigade has been through all the areas where the fighting is going on, except for Luhansk. And everything is completely different here. There are counterfights, vehicles. Russia, there are large areas, fields, and you need to constantly change people on the vehicles, bring them in and out. It's not like in Donetsk region, where you walked 5 kilometers through the forest and reached your position. It doesn't work like that here. On the other hand, it is these open fields that allow the Ukrainian forces to detect Russian attacks and destroy vehicles, not only with drones, but also with ATGW. We talked to soldiers of an anti-tank unit that has destroyed more than 20 units of vehicles in just 3 months. Bro, come on. Yeah. That's a beauty. The drone hit and may not pierce the armor or damage the vehicle for a while, but it may be able to drive away. And this thing, if it hits something, they don't have a chance to drive on. Javelin is a very cool weapon. Drones interfere with our work a lot. It's just hell. When we were standing and rappelling in an enemy breakthrough, a drone flew 20 meters away from us. We were standing right under the trees, and it made 2 circles around us, but did not notice. According to the Ukrainian soldiers, the number of Russian drones, both attack and reconnaissance, in the Kursk sector is huge, and more fiber optic FPVs are appearing here, which are not affected by electronic warfare. The involvement of airborne troops and Marines shows how important this section of the front line is to Russia. I think that their priority areas are now Donetsk region, because they have had success there, and any normal military understands that if there is success, it needs to be developed. That is, they are throwing their forces at the Donetsk region, in the Kursk region, because the fighting is already on their territory. So, of course, this is one of their priorities. Barrage ammunition. Lancet, they have a lot of it. In infantry, basically, they take the territory with infantry. Here they get 5 points, because their people go on such ridiculous missions that I would never have thought it possible. They go mercilessly and die mercilessly. Every time I ask myself a question, why do they do this? I'm glad that we're beating them up here, because let them know that the game is not in one goal. Why do they have to humiliate us and try to bring us to our knees? And we have to put up with it? No, it won't work. We will fight back to the last. If you were interested in today's episode and would like me to continue doing episodes like this next, then let me know by hitting the like button and leaving a comment. Thank you.